So look, I've read your comments. The Longhorn is great. I was wrong. But you know what's better than one Longhorn? Two Longhorns, let's go! Here is a build specifically for the Longhorn as an apology for you guys. So let's blow some bubbles and all be friends, okay? Okay, let's get into it. Let me know in the comments if you accept my apology or not. So let's get into this build. So as you all know, I don't like gimmicky builds that just like focus on like using one attack or something like that to melt away enemies. And the Longhorn is kind of in that category. But what I've done with the Longhorn build is combine it with a second Longhorn to use the power stance with them and use both of the Longhorns at once. Now this will enable you to do a jump attack where you can slam both of the great hammers down at once. When you combine that with the Raptor Black Feathers, you can do even more damage as that buffs your jump attack damage. So you can still use those like normal, like heavy power attack stance attacks that do a lot of poise damage while wielding both of these great hammers. And then you've also got the Longhorn's Ash of War Bubble Shower, which is the main reason why everyone talks about this weapon and uses this weapon, because it is great, especially on large enemies where you can blow those bubbles. And if you can hit the enemy with all of the bubbles, you will absolutely melt them away very quickly. It's also good to use as an AoE attack to pressure enemies back when they're too close to you, or there's just a lot of them like pressuring you because of the way the bubbles spread out. And it does seem to do a decent amount of like poise stagger to them, so you'll be able to keep the pressure on them while enabling you to like follow up with like jump attacks or, you know, focus down with a specific target. The weapon's power stance attacks and bubble shower attacks do a lot of stance damage, and you can regularly stance break enemies with this and be able to follow up with critical hits, or even just do more bubble attacks or like jump attacks if you choose to. It's really good in that way. I'm actually surprised at how much stance damage this bubble shower does. Like the fact that I can just like sit there and spam it and I will stance break enemies is kind of strange, but they haven't nerfed it, so clearly it seems to be intended. And I guess the weapon is very hard to get. It only comes from like, I think 3 enemies in the game, and the drop rate is super low, which is why I didn't originally get it, because I tried getting it for like 2 hours in a full arcane build with like maximum discovery and just like could not get it. And it even took me like another, I think, hour and a half to get 2 of these. I got one like an hour in, and then about half hour later I got another one. So we got both of these. They take a long time to get from getting them to drop from these envoys. And I'm also combining it with the Oracle Envoy Spirits. So because we want to complete this bubble blowing set, you can use the Oracle Envoy Ashes, which will summon 4 Oracle Envoy Spirits to you, so that you can all be bubble blowing homies and attack enemies together and doot around the lands between together. So getting into some of the specifics about this build for spells, because this is a faith build, you could use a lot of different spells in this build, but you don't have to. You can just use the Longhorns. I'm using a couple of spells here, primarily the Golden Vow, which will increase my damage and defense as well, and Flame Grant Me Strength is also valuable to have. You could use Black Flame Protection to increase your physical damage negation as well if you wanted to. It's not a bad thing to have as well, but Golden Vow is really the primary one, and it kind of fits with the theme of the Envoy's kind of setup. Flame Grant Me Strength not so much, and Flame Grant Me Strength will only give you a little bit of damage increase because it only increases physical damage in this build, because we're not using fire, but that little bit of damage increase, you know, you can't really go wrong with that in a lot of situations. But if you wanted to pick up any other spells or incantations, you absolutely can do so, because we've got plenty of faith. Speaking of attributes, we'll go through them now. So faith is your main attribute, and you want to put this as high as possible. I've got mine about the 80 mark. I'm also using a fair amount of strength because I'm not just solely focusing on using the bubble showers. If you want to focus on using it as just a standard weapon, you will want to put some points into strength. And surprisingly, the Longhorn does actually scale really well with strength. It doesn't scale super well with dexterity, so I try to avoid that as much as possible and just hit that minimum tier that you need for dexterity. But with strength, it does scale really well. So that's why I've put a fair amount of points into strength as well, so that I can deal damage, as well as finding that balance between the bubble blowing and just like the standard attack animations. Strength, mind, and endurance are your secondary stats. You want to put these up as much as possible as well, but strength is the kind of primary secondary stat, and then faith being your main stat. You want to max this out as much as possible. Talking about the gear you'll need for this build, you obviously need the Envoy's Longhorn. Now, there is a couple of enemies that drop these. They come from the large Oracle Envoys, the ones that have like the Longhorn. There's like 3 of these in the game. There's 2 in the Mikola's Hallock Tree, but they're super hard to get there because it's just like a chaos area where you're going to like be walking on the branches and stuff. So it's better to farm the single guy in Linden Royal Capital, like at the East Capital Rampart. When you go there, he's just near there, so you can kind of go there, kill him, then go back to the Grey site and reset, and then go back and forth. And that's basically what I did in a full arcane build, and the white foot thingy, whatever that's called, to increase your discovery, so that I've got the most amount of discovery and highest chance of it dropping, and it will take a while to drop, especially if you're trying to get 2 as well. You're just going to have to like put some music on or something and just try and like grind this out, but it will eventually drop for you from this guy. I'm also wearing the Envoy crown to increase the damage that my bubble attacks do as well. This comes from the Halog tree, and you can also get the Oracle Envoy Spirit Ashes from there as well. It's just in that first area where there's like all the branches and stuff. Both of these can be found there. The Raptor's Black Flame feathers I'm wearing to increase the jump attack for this weapon, and for the rest of your armor, you can kind of just wear whatever you like. Something that maybe has a decent amount of like physical negation is probably important, because you will take some damage in this build just as you're using the bubble blowing attack, which does take a little bit of time to wind up. And then also if you're just trying to like go ham and attack enemies, you will take a little bit of damage. For your talismans, the main talisman that you really need is the Sacred Scorpion Charm, which will increase your holy attack damage in favor of reducing your damage negation. I'm using Shard of Alexander to boost the attack power of my skills, and the Carrion Filigree Crest to reduce the amount of FP cost from using skills, because that's primarily what we're going to be using is the bubble shower. And I'm also wearing the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman to reduce my physical damage negation, because as I said, you will take damage. Now, you could drop this for, there is a talisman that will increase your jump attack damage, or even something else that you may prefer, but I find that this is the best setup for me personally, because you will take damage, and if you're combining it with the Sacred Scorpion Charm, which increases your amount of damage taken, and then this will help kind of balance that out a little bit, it will reduce the actual total amount that you will take, because you will take hits while you're just trying to get the bubble attack off, or even just attacking normally. You will take damage, and you just need a way to balance and be aware of that, and I find that this talisman will help me kind of figure that out. General tips on how to play this build: you'll start your fights with the Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. Flame Grant Me Strength, as mentioned, won't give you the hugest damage bonus. Golden Vow is the main one, so if you're in the middle of a fight and you want to get one of these off, then focus on Golden Vow because of the defense it gives you as well. It's better to have, but Flame Grant Me Strength is better than nothing. Starting out most fights, I'll use Bubble Shower and then follow up with like the jump attacks or just the occasional typical swings of the 2 hammers. And you can also use the Oracle Envoy Spirit Ashes as well, so you've got those 4 homies around you that will take some of the brunt of the aggression away from you in some situations, so you can actually get the bubble attack off and try and line up these attacks, because it is difficult in some scenarios, because when you're not close enough to the target, the bubbles will go like out in a really wide berth. They don't really heat seek or anything. You've got to be at that right distance because they are a little short range, but you've also got to be close enough so that you will hit the target with as many of them as possible. So with the bigger targets like the dragons and stuff, super easy to do. You just like stand underneath the dragon and like blow away. But if you're fighting something that's a bit smaller, you've got to try and find that distance and balance to where you're actually going to hit them with some of them. And in some cases, as long as you like hit them like once or something, you might stagger them out of an attack, and then you can follow up with a jump attack or something like that. But finding that different spot where you're going to sit to use these attacks, as well as just getting that balance of attacking with the weapons as well, is good to do. And having the option to just attack normally will help the general feel of this build and flexibility, because you will fight a lot of trash mobs that you can just like one shot with a jump attack. It's much better than having to like pop the Ash of War just to like kill this target. You can just run up, jump attack, kill them, and then keep moving and keep that like grinding process going. All right, I hope I have redeemed myself now for all that Faith weapons ranked video. It's a good video, it's just I didn't get this weapon, and I also didn't realize how good it was, so my apologies for that. But thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.